Okay, let's start. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you all for coming. So as we are reading from the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, so last week we saw um just a quick summary. Last week we saw how Bhagavad Gita should be read. Bhagavad Gita should be read in the spirit of devotion and also with the submissive mood of submissiveness. And also we saw the Bhagavad Gita is meant, though all the Bhagavad Gita is meant for everyone, but the devotees are the one who gets the maximum benefit out of it. And we also saw what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to basically deliver the mankind from ignorance. And why to read Bhagavad Gita? Why to read Bhagavad Gita is to basically the Prabhupada also mentions about as a, we saw the significance of being a human birth, right? Getting a human life. It is so rare. And only in the human life you have that intelligence and consciousness to inquire. The Prabhupada talked about the inquisitiveness of the human and also inquire why we are suffering in this world, what will happen after we die, where we came from, and things like that. And then we saw the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone remember what are the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita that we read? What are the 5 topics? Ishvara, Jiva, awesome. So now we are going to continue the reading from here on. And we also saw there is a 6th and the most important aspect is the devotion part of it, which is what Bhagavad Gita underlying message is all about developing a relationship and developing and devotion for Krishna. So now we'll continue this reading. Okay, so um, we left in the paragraph. Yeah, we kind of read this first paragraph, getting all the overview of the 5 topics. So now let's go in details. We are going to go in details of each of the topics. Just an upfront thing. The time is the one which is going to be least discussed. Even in Bhagavad Gita, there is just only one verse which is on time, but there is an important aspect. But except time, we are going to in detail. We already saw in there was a one class we saw what is the definition of Bhagavan. We already saw in some aspects what is the definition of Bhagavan. So now we are going to read about other 4 aspects: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, and Karma in more detail. So let's start reading from this paragraph. Out of these 5, this is on page number 7. It should be the second paragraph. Right? Got it? Out of these five basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead or Krishna or Brahman or the Supreme Controller or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. Okay, so in the when we discussed that five topics, we also saw that the the Lord, like how Arjuna describes Krishna as Param Brahma, Param Dhama, right? So we see here that you may whatever the name you call Krishna as, but he is the supreme controller. Okay, Krishna is the supreme controller. So there is never a moment when Krishna is not in control. And why Prabhupada mentions here, he could have mentioned rather than Ishvara, he could have also mentioned as Bhagavan, the God as Bhagavan, right? But he is mentioning the topic of Ishvara because it has to be explained in relationship to the other four topics, Jivas, Prakriti. We saw that Krishna is the supreme controller. So there is never a moment that he is not in control. And also, this is to just to negate the thought that the whole universe was created using a big bang. The concept is that there was a big, all the matter came together and a big explosion happened and all this beautiful creation started happening. And after that, no one is taking care of it, it is on its own. But have we seen anything in our day-to-day life where things happen on its own and nobody is controlling it? Okay, so that's not. So that's where the concept of Ishvara is very significant here. And as a material nature, things have the tendency to what decay, or they have the tendency to, like let's take an example. We see our cars. They after some point of time you have to change an oil. So you have to stop the car, right, and go to take it to the mechanic and replace the oil. Or sometimes even the aircraft, they undergo to the maintenance, right? But have you ever seen, oh, let's stop the rotation of the earth, now we have to do the maintenance, so then only it can start. It's like a mechanical thing, right? Considering the mechanical analogy, it is spinning, you need greasing, and something is going to wear out. But have you ever seen it? Why? Because who is under control? Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Lord, Godhead is controlling it. If we control it, think about ourselves. We saw that also, but we are going to see. We are also a minute controller, or we are also minute issue, because we have tendency to control. And I can control the switches of the light, but not beyond certain jurisdiction. But Krishna has the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the controllership of all the whole creation itself. So that's where the concept of Krishna is been mentioned here as the supreme controller. Also, just to contradict that there is a big bang, okay? Behind every creation, there has to be creator. You see, if somebody has manufactured a car, or you yourself, let's take a very simple example. Like if you go to the kitchen, if you have to prepare a food, you have to think about it. Okay, what I want to cook? I want to cook rice, I want to cook chapati and sabji. It's not going to happen that all the ingredients are going to come together and hey, chapati is ready, right? There has to be a. So similarly, even for this beautiful creation, there is a brain behind it who has thought about it, and he creates it, he maintains it, he even destroys it. Because for that also you need something, right? It's not so. So that's where the concept of Ishvara has been mentioned here actually. Okay. Any question here before we read further? Okay. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs of the material nature, as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So what we discussed here is that the Lord has the control of all the universal affairs, like whatever is happening in this material world, it's all well controlled by Krishna. Reading further, for instance, material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna says, Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sa characharan. The material nature is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation, there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. Okay. Um, so whatever we talked about is that whatever we see, it is not happening on its own. There has to be some, how the day perfectly happens. The day comes in and then progresses, and night comes in. So everything is systematically controlled. It is said, even science says that the earth is in a particular angle and it's tilted and rotated. Even if it tilts it just by few angle, or if it, you, we see in our car, right? There is no jerk in the, whenever something is rotating. If we have that similar, the earth is rotating so smoothly, we don't feel that we are rotating. What speed we are rotating, we cannot even imagine that. We are rotating at a very high speed. Not only rotating, also spinning also. So the Lord is completely controlling what is we are seeing in this world. Okay. Um, this quote, which Prabhupada mentions, Maya Dhakshena Prakriti, this we'll see in the later chapter where he says, Maya Adhikshena, means under my order, this material nature is working. Adhikar is what? Adhikshena, that's why under Krishna's order, this whole material world is working through. Okay, let's read an analogy. Now, Prabhupada is going to give an analogy of how he thinks. Okay, for instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without an horse or an animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the driver under whose direction everything is working. So here in this analogy, if child sees that, oh, there is a bullock cart, there is a horse cart, so he sees that an animal is pulling it. But when he sees a car, let's say that he doesn't understand what is the concept of car. He says that, oh, its car is going on its own. Is the car is going on its own? No, somebody is driving it, or else car cannot move. So similarly, that Prabhupada gives an example. Though this we see this material nature, Prakriti, but this is fully under the control of Krishna. Okay. Reading further. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the driver under whose direction everything is working. Now, the jivas, or the living entities, have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in later chapters, as his parts and partials. Okay. Let me finish this whole paragraph, then we can have a discussion. A particle of gold is also a gold. A drop of water from ocean is also a salty. Similarly, we living entities, being part and partial of the supreme controllers, Ishvara or Bhagavan, Lord Shri Krishna, have the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute, because we are minute Ishvaras or subordinate Ishvaras. We are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the supreme controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that we are his parts and parcels. So we discussed earlier also, we are in equal in quality with Krishna, but not in quantity. The example here is two examples that is given: the particle of gold and the gold, actual gold itself. What is the value of a dust of a gold? Nothing, right? Compared to the whole gold. So similarly, the analogy here is that when that particle or dust of gold goes and combines with the bigger portion of the gold, it has a value. Similarly, we being here, though we are equal in quality, but we have insignificant in quantity. So we have no values unless until we try to be in connection with Krishna, or else we have no values. The another example is given is the water, right? If you just taste a sample of water, salt sea water, it is salty. Similarly, the whole ocean water, but can you compare anything, compare a drop of ocean water compared to the huge ocean of water? The huge ocean can float such big fish. It has got so many living entities, but a drop of water is what? It really, literally insignificant. So that is the analogy which Prabhupada is giving. Even in our real world, okay, somebody believes that, okay, how should I agree that we are similar in quality but not in quantity with Krishna? Sometime when we go for the medical examinations, right, in pathology, they have to do a blood test. Do they dry note all our blood and say your blood is so and so? They just take a sample of blood and analyze it. So similarly, because it is in continuation, because Lord has the tendency to control, we also have a tendency to control. That is the aspect that Prabhupada is mentioning here, that we all have a tendency to control, and um, and that is coming from Krishna. So now the question comes, if there is a controllership in Krishna, and we also have a controllership in Krishna because same in quality, then why we should not control? That question can someone can ask a question, right? If Lord has a controllership, we being in same as in quality as Krishna, then why we should not controller control it? Anybody wants to have guess?
I think why should not be controlled, what controlling what? Like controlling in general or
Yeah, like as you said, we all wants to, like everybody wants, I want to control big team, I want to have money, I want to have influence. Everyone has the tendency to lord it over, means to have gives, huh? So that's what Prabhupada is saying, that controllership, the tendency to control is coming from Krishna himself, because he has it. And we already discussed that we are same in quality but not in quantity. But why we should not lord it over?
why we should not?
Why we should not control it? Why we should not? We have Krishna has the tendency to control. Prabhupada is saying that we also are minute controller in some way, but he says that we should not control it.
Because you know, when you start controlling, you will get a karma.
Uh-huh.
That karma will again tie up with the vicious cycle. So that's the reason why we should not.
Yeah, that's one aspect. But the main thing is that it. Uh-huh. Exactly. So when he is in control, so we constitutionally we are always to be controlled, not in control. We are always servant of the Lord. constitutionally. We'll see that now we are going to see a hierarchy. He mentioned about Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti. We'll see a hierarchy, how they are going to come in terms of superiority. We are going to see that. So, as a Jivas, constitutionally, our only thing is to be in control, not being in the controller position actually. Also, um, we say just in context with what Prabhupada mentioned here about Ishvara and its controlling thing. In the current modern education system, there is always more emphasis is given on the creation rather than the creator. Okay, that is the wrong approach, or it's not a right thing. Like, let's take an example of a painter. Like Leonardo da Vinci, he draw the paintings of Mona Lisa, right? The painting is got more value because it is being drawn by a painter who is very recognized, well reputed. I'm very sure that nowadays somebody can literally see Mona Lisa and draw it, but will it have same value as what the original painting of thing? So that's another aspect that we should pay more significance to the creator than to the what is being getting created. So that's something which Prabhupada is highlighting, and thus that or in the whole Bhagavad Gita, though we can, like we see in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita, there are multiple ways to understand Krishna. Some may like some people they that's such a beautiful nature and creation, and they will just have a simple appreciation like Santa Rashna. But they will never go and appreciate Krishna himself because or the Supreme Lord God because who has created this world actually. So they have more emphasis or they have their focus is more on the creation rather than the creator.
So you were telling about the education system. Now the education system is more concentrating on material things like Prakriti and all
Uh-huh.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Earlier my forefathers or my grandparents,
Uh-huh.
they think of advancement is towards attaching to the God.
Yeah.
My grandfather knows more about God and his creation than myself and my kids.
Yeah.
So right now everyone thinks that I'm with any science everything says that I am advanced so much, I have created this much. They are creating more of material which is short-lived, and they think that is as advancement. But the shift has to be happen from Prakriti to the
To the Ishvara, yeah. To the from the creation to the creator. Yeah, that's the yeah. There is a pastime we can talk about as a cobbler and a brahmana and another. Basically, a brahmana is well educated, but he had got no belief that what Lord can do compared to. We can see that. So the point is that even if if you're uneducated or if you're not so educated, but if you still have that very clear understanding, this all compared to a modern day scientist having PhD and double PhD and things like that, still believe in an atheistic thing that whole creation came with a big bang compared to an illiterate. In those times, like your fathers, grandfathers, there are many. They have very clear understanding how this universe came into the conception, how this got manifestation. So they have the better knowledge compared to what the modern day scientists have actually.
why? Because recently I went to my daughter Pioneer
Uh-huh.
picnic,
Uh-huh.
and teachers and everyone was pointing out that our ancestors are very less modern. They don't have washing machine, they don't have these facilities, they don't have a car, they don't have a bus. But I was thinking to myself, is really what the development they are showing to the kids is real, but I'm just saying.
Actually, even that is that's a incorrect. Even leaving the spirituality apart, also that is not the
That
complete
is not
understanding.
correct.
You know.
So if my question was, my ancestors are even like Arjuna or Vishnu
Exactly.
or some if you, why you are considering my persons who are like doesn't
So
know.
because most of the world, they know the history from only last 2000 years or so, and I mean by that time Kaliga had come and it was really degraded. So Prabhupada says, so what kind of advancement is this? Earlier we used to eat in golden plates, silver plates. Now we are eating in plastic plates and paper plates. What kind of advancement is that? Right, and if you read the Shastras, description of palaces and the Vimanas, the aeroplanes that they used to have, they didn't need fuel and the pilots and so many years of training. Just by saying mantras, they can go from one place to another. So that is, even
Much
by material criterion also, that is much more advanced than us, right? You know. Yeah.
So basically, the whole paragraph that we saw here is emphasizing the significance of Ishvara or the supreme controller, and just to think that that the whole creation has been created without any brain behind it is the stupidity. That's where the concept of the Ishvara. I'm just saying the topic is Bhagwan or God, but Prabhupada is introducing the as also because we'll see that you can address Lord as unlimited names, right? So that's where he is bringing the concept of Ishvara here. That's, okay. So also the another analogy we already saw that during the definition of the Bhagavan, where Krishna says in the seventh chapter that Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinti Siddhananjaya Mai Sarvam Idam Proktam Sutri Manigana Iva, where he gave the analogy of a what? A necklace. Though you can see the necklace and the pearl, but you cannot see the what? A string behind it. What happens if the string snaps? So similarly, the Lord is controlling this whole universe, and He is that string behind who is not seen yet. And the science cannot, or the scientists don't want to even. If they say, another thing is that why scientists don't want to say, if they say there is a Lord behind it, nobody will recognize them. Nobody will ready to hire them or pay them because they don't want to have more emphasis on the creator rather than the creation. So that's another aspect why science doesn't want to recognize that actually. Okay. In the last paragraph, in the what we read here, is giving the more nature of the jiva. Okay, this last paragraph where he is going to start about jiva here. Now the jivas. Okay, here we should also understand that we are always controlled and conditioned. Okay, um, as a jiva, we can only what we can do. We can only desire. As a jiva, we are so insignificant and minute. We are only have the tendency to desire. Even whether you're a devotee or a non-devotee, whether you are atheistic or you are a theistic, even to fulfill your desire, you have to depend on Lord. In the later chapters in Bhagavad Gita, you'll see there are not you are only the not doer. There are five doers for it. We'll see that. We'll see in detail. So, but one of the main is the Lord Himself actually. Like, see ourselves. If you want to live in this world, you cannot live without air. You cannot live without water. Even to do something, we have to depend on so many external factors actually. The other day, Amritanbu gave an example. Even to lift a hand, it is controlled by devatas actually. You cannot.
Digest the food that we eat, everything is controlled by the devatas who are working under the direction of the Lord. So nothing. I mean, if they just withdraw, pull one string, we are we are useless actually. There's nothing we can do. The only thing we have free will, but the free will is only limited to desires. So what your desire is, and how that desire is fulfilled, that's by other four doers. So Your only role is to decide.
That's what we can do, not nothing more.
Nothing beyond that.
And that's the free will which Krishna doesn't interfere. He said, right, we have a free will. We have
That's
a
the
free,
only thing he doesn't
he
interfere with.
only interfere actually. You have the free will to do and desire what you want. But whether you will get it or not, that is based on what we deserve, not what we deserve or what we desire. Okay. Anything else? We have just discussed Ishvara and Jiva. Now we are going to move to this next paragraph where we are going to talk about more about Prakriti. Before we discuss on the material nature, uh, somebody wants to take a stab at it. What do you mean by nature? That means many things, right? You can say, oh, that is that person's nature, right? Huh? Also, we say this also is nature, right? So let's see what is that. Okay, we'll see. This is just giving just glimpse of it. So let's read it and we'll find out. So we are going to read this paragraph. I don't know what. I think it's on page 8. If it's on the new version of Bhagavad Gita, which is the first paragraph. So we have just started. Started means maybe around 25 minutes back. Yeah. So okay. What is material nature? This is also explained in the Gita as inferior prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as superior prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is controlled by Lord just as activities of wife are controlled by husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is predominator. Who is the predominator? Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entities and the material nature are both predominated and controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcel of Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Apareyam itastu anyan prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabhavo em dharyate jagat. That is a complete verse. This material nature is my inferior prakriti, but beyond this is another prakriti, jiva bhutam, the living entities. So here Prabhupada is explaining prakriti. What is prakriti? So we saw 5 topics: Ishvara, Jivas, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Now here Prabhupada is mentioning the Prakritis are of 2 types. What is the nature of a Prakriti is it is to be always controlled. Okay. So Prabhupada is mentioning about 2 kinds of Prakriti. This we'll see in more details in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One is he talking about inferior Prakriti or inferior nature, which is this material world. But there is a superior Prakriti, which Prabhupada is calling as Jivas, the living entities. So Jivas are the superior Prakriti and the material nature is the inferior Prakriti. You know why? Why the material nature is inferior and Jivas are superior? What makes us superior? Yeah,
Yeah.
we have that consciousness because the stable is not conscious, or whatever you see that it's not consciousness, which is like so that makes us inferior and superior. But one important thing he says that Prakriti is always controlled and enjoyed by Krishna. So that's the most important part. Now the question we asked, Lord has a tendency to control. Being same in quality, we also have a tendency to Control. But why we should not control? So that's where it's getting answered, because we are also a Prakriti and we have to be always in control. And also it's our constitutional position to be a servitor to the Lord.
Existence is also finite.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How about other jivas? Animals. So are they're not superior?
They
Like
are also
they,
jivas. All life, all forms of
all
life.
forms of life. But see, the example is okay, a hog. You know what a pig or a hog eats? All the human waste.
Yeah,
So it enjoys it. It's not, but do we think, can we? So based on our condition, the body, what we have,
Your enjoyment.
our enjoyment differs actually. We also thought, na, enjoyment or happiness is all relative actually. So,
In fact, there is a pastime where Indra was cursed to become a hog. And then he was happily living as a hog. And then Narad Muni comes to say, why are you rotting in this condition? Come back. And he says, no, I have my wife, family. I'm enjoying. I'm happy here. So that's how all jivas are conditioned in their position. They enjoy. They think they enjoy.
So is the Prakriti going to be the same for every life form? Not an individual entity, but like all humans don't have the same Prakriti, right? The constitutional position of all jivas is to be controlled.
Yes.
But the type of Prakriti, meaning the nature, right? We see it's nature of this person, nature of that person. It's not the same.
it's not same.
It's not.
And it's because of
We are going to see.
experience of
We are going to see in the very next paragraph. It is made up of the modes of the nature. There are three modes. The mode of goodness. It's all defined by that actually. What is an enjoyment for others may not be the enjoyment depending on which mode you are in. Yeah, alcoholic can enjoy an alcohol because he's in a different mode compared to somebody who is sane and intelligent. That I don't. It's not a sense enjoyment, or it's an enjoyment for me. Anything else, bro?
Yeah, I think the topic then we introduced why people are in different modes.
Oh yeah.
It's a pattern. Why?
Material nature is constituted.
Later it's last time.
Last one.
Oh, yeah. So we'll read now. Material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. So here Prabhupada is in these 2 3 lines he is mentioning about the modes, the material modes, the time and karma. All our activities are also because he wants to introduce karma, our activities, he is introducing the modes of material nature or the qualities. Because based on that, we are going to act ourselves, right? How we associate with these modes, our actions will be defined by that.
So is it like these modes? It's not that a person will be in one mode.
No,
It's a combination.
it's a combination.
Different modes.
Many
Yeah,
combinations.
yeah.
So actually, just like three colors makes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
Exactly.
example.
Exactly.
Get up morning, will be in mode of
Goodness.
Goodness.
Yeah,
So then we get a brush and we get refreshed. And
Yeah.
the mode changes.
yeah.
As the day progresses.
Progress. The day is the mode of passion and the night is the mode of ignorance. That's why you can go to sleep. If you are in the mode of passion, you are always active.
You cannot sleep.
You cannot go to sleep, right? You cannot go to sleep, right?
And also age also.
What is it?
Childhood, you have some youth, you will have no passion. As you grow old, you will also have more of like laziness and all that stuff. You cannot be on the same mode all throughout the life.
Throughout the life, throughout the day,
They change. They keep changing. Yeah.
That's why we should do what we should do during night, okay, probably.
But really, the so this is the time, right? So is it the time in the day or is it like throughout the life of the Jiva? Are there things that you can shift your basically the constitution to be a better human being? Or is it just like it's a given composition and you just have to live with it throughout your
No, actually, you can change. If you see many people, like we've seen, right? We have so many examples of sinful people in the scriptures, and just just because Narad Muni enlightened them, their life has changed completely, right? They have become saints. Mrigari and even Valmiki Muni,
Valmiki.
right? They were hunters and other things, right? So earlier they were in the mode of ignorance, but just by taking up some practices, taking instructions from saintly people, they were able to change. So yeah, it is possible. And in later chapters we will see how to become like how this process, just by taking up the process of bhakti, how we can be free of the influence, completely become free from the influence of these three modes. Yes.
Maybe the just an insight to that is that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamcha yoga vicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitetan brahma bhugaya kalpate. Means if you remember Krishna, you can always come out of these modes actually. Is that right? Bro? Yeah, in the 14th chapter I will say. If you always remember about Krishna, that's the gist of all these things to come up. We are only discussing about what are the modes. But just yeah, you can if you think about Krishna, you can always come out of those modes.
So coming out of the modes
Means those forces are always active, but you are not affected by them. So, for example, even we, earlier we used to eat lots of things. We used to like all those things. But now, slowly, some things have shifted. We gave up eating onion, garlic, we gave up eating eggs and all. So now, even if they are there, earlier we used to love them. We don't feel like eating them. You know. So our conditioning has changed over the years. So, yeah, it can be changed.
So the same thing that's in the bullet points that Krishna is the only Purusha or the enjoyer, and as a Prakriti he is female, as both Jiva and both the material world or the nature is to be enjoyed by Krishna. Anything else we want to add here?
So, did you complete up to this?
No, I didn't read the full paragraph. I have to read.
Complete.
Yeah. These activities These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering and enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer. But then I say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. So, Prabhupada is introducing the concept of karma, whether it's a good karma or a bad karma, there is an end to it. Or he gives an example, and also Prabhu mentioned the other day, right? What happens if we have some bank balance and we decided to go on a vacation, right? We go and enjoy in that location wherever we are doing a vacation. As long as you can enjoy, as you have the bank balance, means that you had a good karma, you enjoyed it, and as soon as the bank balance is over, you have to come back, right? And you have to start again accumulating more good karma to enjoy. Or let's have there is a thief who has done some kind of violated the law and he is punished under the law and he has been serving under the correction facility for 7 years or 8 years. As he is serving, his bad karma is depleting. At the end of this, he will be released from the prison, right? So the law cannot say, government cannot say, I have to punish you again. Because, so this is how the karma acts. Both good and bad karma.
So to sum it up, all of us do actions, but these are always based on the balance which we have generated in the past. So basically, any action, good action will produce good results, bad action will produce bad results. So then that will, so the result of that will be, some of the things will be manifested right away, some of the results will be manifested in few hours, some of the things will get manifested in few lifetimes. So anything which is presented to us, or what is our composition, or whatever is our behavior current, is the thing which has happened in the past. So somebody is in mode of goodness can be considered that in the past, he had that good positive bank balance account. In this account there is a good bank balance of positive karma. So that is why he is manifesting that way. So and then whatever we do from today onwards, that will be for the future. So those things are stored in our bank account as something called as samskara, or what you are saying, prakriti. Prakriti is just a manifestation of whatever you have done in the past. So that's how a person will behave or manifest himself based on his bank account or his previous past karmas. All the incidences which is happening in our life, all the instances, is actually because of our past days. So somebody is cheating us. That means what? We already have cheated that person. He is just giving the thing back. Same soul or maybe different soul? Most probably it is the same soul. But we have done that mistake. So instead of blaming that person that you ruined my life, actually we should ask for forgiveness. Because we have done it in the past, right? He is helping us to remove the things.
Helping us burn that karma.
Burn that karma.
Earlier in this topic, so do we have to burn the karma to?
Both bad and good.
So as we are living, we are all acquiring some karma, right? So the path to
Yeah, then you have to stop it. Right? Yeah. And for stopping, Krishna gives their solution in the last chapter, 18 chapter, 66 verse.
Yeah.
So don't be worried about that. Solution is very, very easy. At the same time, it's very tough also. Because Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, means whatever I have spoken till now, Parityaja, give it away. Forget about this. Then what do you do? Maam Eka 1866. 18 chapter 66 verse. He's saying that Maam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandon all varieties of religions, just surrender unto me. Maam Ekam. He's not saying Maam. He's saying Maam
Only.
Ekam. Me alone. Sharanam Vraja. Somebody next I'm speaking this. I cannot claim that you surrender to me. Or we cannot claim it. Because this is spoken by Krishna. It's not spoken by us. Maam Ekam. What do you do? Sharanam Vraja. Surrender unto me. So if we surrender, sometimes when the police tell us surrender, when we have to raise our hand or receive Shobhas, that is not this kind of surrender. It's a surrender in love. Like a wife surrenders to husband after marriage, or the children surrenders to
Parents.
the parents. But this is out of love, and the parents shower their love on the kids. So this is that kind of surrender. Then when we do that, what will Krishna do? Krishna is saying the next line, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. I will relieve you from all your sins or karmas. And I will give you moksha, moksha shyama. And then finally he is saying, Mahasukha, do not fear. Do not trust my statement. Because the Supreme Lord, his statement is the ultimate truth. So Mahasukha is saying, do not fear. Don't If I'm telling you to jump from the cliff, jump. Don't worry, I'll catch you. Like the child, when they're jumping on some higher pedestal, the parents ask the children to jump, they jump. Why? They are complete fail. But if there is an adult, you will think, oh, can this person catch me? If he doesn't catch me, I'll. Yeah, there is a fire in the building.
The fire
And
brigade.
the fire people, people who are from the fire brigade, they say, jump, don't worry, we are catching you. But we have some doubts. Right? If he doesn't catch us, but yeah, that's why Krishna is adding the word master. Do not worry. So this is how you can get rid of all your good as well as bad karma. One liner.
Also, that then the relationship thing, right? Like if you focus more on the material nature, you will accumulate more and more the more and more karma. But if you channelize your attention more towards Krishna, so you will come out of this accumulating this karma.
I think even in some history, I can't recall like this, but there were people who always loved Krishna, who always believed Krishna, but at the same time they are always doing kind of bad things, right? Even probably Ravana. He didn't believe in Krishna. Not Krishna, I'm just saying. Of course, he used to believe in God. That angle is okay, but they also have the second case of doing
He never believed it. He wanted to be the Lord actually, or he wanted to control the whole universe actually, right?
He wanted to.
maybe I'm not getting it.
If you see their history, the one thing is very, in any demon, that one thing is very dominant. Their actions are there to some, they will show some actions like they are subordinate to some demigod, like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or something. But ultimately, after doing that, whatever is tapasya they are doing, they ask for more. Then I want to be controller of control.
And if you see Hiranyakashipu, he wanted to kill Vishnu, right? He wanted to take revenge on Vishnu. So, and he uses all the other demigods as a stepping stone to get what he wants. So it's not, it's not devotion towards Brahma or Shiva because they want something out of it. Yeah.
So this karma has to be understood very, very critically. Because then, what happens is, day to day, moment to moment, things are coming to us, bombarded from all sides, based on our past. Things are happening in our life. And if you just probably notice it, we always try to deflect the thing on others. Oh, this person behaved with me like this. This person is so bad. He told me like this. This person is, doesn't know how to behave with such a nice person like me. You always think like actually push our karma to others. That means we are creating more karma. Right? We are creating more karma. Instead of that, we need to start thinking in practical terms that this is happening because of my baggage. So let it come. I have to go through this, let it come. But then how do I react? Based on this understanding. That the Lord is sending this person is just an instrument of my past action.
Suppose someone is hitting me really very hard and I'm bleeding. So in that case, natural tendency is
Yes.
to retaliate.
Right.
That person I cannot
Yeah, you stop. Yes, absolutely. You stop it. You try to protect yourself. That is all correct. But then, after that is done, then that event has happened. So that event has gone in the past. You cannot change it. But then what happens in our mind? The event is becoming bigger. It is taking a bigger
Revenge.
scale. It's like the ice. When you see the
Snowball effect.
snowball effect. It's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then one day they take a revenge. Right? That's what they do. When the event has happened, you can take the same event as my karma, or you can take it as a that person has done it, and you can make that as bigger and bigger and sometimes subtler. It may not be like a physical hurt is the least.
So it's not in verbal, right? Like in work situations, there's a lot of politics. How do we push back, and when do we push back, and how much do we push back? So is that to be treated as karma as well, and how do we post-process the situation?
Yeah, very interesting question. Now, based on your karma, you got the job, right?
Right.
We think somebody, this politics will take me out. Is it not? Or something bad will happen to me because of this politics.
Right.
Correct? Ultimately, my job will be gone. That's a clear way. But based on your karma, you got the job. And your sustenance is also based on your karma. If it has to go, it will go. You can't do anything to stop your job to be gone. Like the way you can't do anything good to get the job. It's all based on the karma. So what is the best thing to do? You think about it. In different situations, different answers are there. But the best thing is to go with the flow and not create more karma on what has happened. Now, after this understanding, then what happens is then Krishna is in. When we surrender to Krishna, Krishna is in charge of my life. He is driving my life. And wherever he is taking me, I have to go. But I have surrendered to Krishna. Then I understand. So if Krishna wants me to stay in this job, we don't do those things which is not based on dharma. And dharma says that you should not be a part of politics. What is right, you do.
That's when we face most of the politics.
Correct, I understand that. This is very practical actually. A lot of times we are in such a situation, but we need to understand that we have done that in the past. It is coming back to me. I am put in this situation because I was a part of this in the past. Then case by case, that's why we need a superior person under whom we take directions. In spiritual life also there is a person under whom we take guidance. How to do the things practically. That's why they both took shelter of a spiritual master. I took shelter of a spiritual master. We all eventually will take a shelter of somebody who is our guru. And the guru will guide us. And what is our dharma in this situation? And if you see the life of Pandavas, they were under protection of Krishna. How much trouble they had to do? How much politics they had to do?
They never lost faith.
Huh? They never lost one thing, that is faith in Krishna. They always stick to Krishna and his words. Similarly, they have set an example. Their guru was directly Krishna. Our guru is the person.
Coming in the disciplic succession.
Coming in the distance.
That's very important.
Exactly. And then he guides us in this particular situation. Yeah. Because politics it's very general term. Everybody will have a different situation. And it's not, don't think that we are taken shelter means our situations have become bad. Good. There is no politics in wherever we are positioned. Absolutely there is politics. There is politics all around. And that can also come in temple. It's not that good thing like temple politics will not come in temple. Because the temple is made up of people. So situation like that will also come in temple. But then because we are guided by spiritual masters, they guide us how to navigate through that and without being affected, you get out. Because ultimately, what is the goal? Go back to God, right? Yeah. This is just a temporary settings under which we are learning our karma. Another purview of time.
So regarding karma, there is one very nice pastime. At the end of Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra went and asked Krishna, why I have to suffer and experience that my 100 sons die in front of me. So Krishna says that 50 lifetime ago, you were a hunter. And once you are on a hunt, you saw a mother bird with 100 chicks, birds. In front of that mother, Dhritarashtra, that hunter killed all the 100 birds or the baby birds, and that mother has to experience that. And then the mother curses that you also have to go through this. Then he Dhritarashtra asks Krishna, well, then why have to go through 50 lifetimes? This happened 50 lifetimes ago, right? 50. So is that to get 100 sons, you need to accumulate lot of punya karma. So the 50 lifetimes, after that, after leaving that body as a hunter, the Dhritarashtra, he has to do 50 lifetimes. He has to do pious activities, so that in this life he gets 100 sons, so that that karma is nullified now. So karma is that complex. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita,
Chapter 4.
karmana gahana karmano ikati. So he says that karma is very complex. What about this lifetime? We have to think about how many lifetimes we have sinned, and whatever we are getting is not just based on some karmas may come back in the same lifetime, the same body, but not for everyone. Or depending on how complex is the karma, what is that you have done actually.
And then that's why you see there are two students who are studying equally hard. Maybe some is more working more hard. Yeah, experience, they have all experienced that. And the other student is just bindas, he is not doing any studies. And finally, somebody comes and gives, oh, this is a paper. This is the question they are going to ask him in the exam. He gets it, he studies it, maybe he got a paper.
No, I share a story about it.
Okay. So, these are practical things. Why that has happened? And then they say, I work so hard. And that guy didn't work very hard. It's just luck, fate, all those things. We all have our those thoughts. Mostly we call it as luck.
Luck is basically karma.
Karma, yes, it's basically karma. And then what happens is, a lot of times, we try, I want to go to America. And then we try. One time, then we try fail, then we try another time. Then we go to Visa Ganesh. Visa Ganesh is there, or we go Visa Balaji.
Visa
And we go to Visa Balaji and we get it. Now what has happened? Has he changed everything? Yes, he has changed. So whatever was supposed to be good karma coming back over here, now the person going to Visa Balaji mercifully took all the good karma and invested over here. So he gave you your karma only, which was supposed to happen in the future, right now. He just suffered it. It is your karma only.
But if one person is not bounded,
Yeah. You can desire, but you have to be deserving.
So, the point is that, after understanding this, we have to be a little careful, especially because we don't want to create more karma. So we start because if you want to accumulate more, whatever is there in the bag, let's burn that or use it up. And use those things in Krishna's service. So that's why we become a devotee and then use our things, what is coming to us, for the service of the Lord. Then in whatever situation Krishna puts us, things will happen, but we are not affected by that. Right now, what is happening? We are affected. This person told me this. Most of the time, if you watch, our thing is, we are most of the time in the past.
Yeah.
Our mind. Some person told me like this, somebody did to me like this, somebody, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my husband, my child, everything we drop it on others. But once you understand this, actually that we need to go and ask for forgiveness to those people who done that to us. Because we did it at one point of time, and so much time has gone, we don't know how much time has gone. So we cannot go to every soul and ask like that. But in general, when things happen to us, we start taking, it will still happen, we'll start immediately after the class, it's not that you have to immediately change. So when many years have passed for us.
Yeah.
Still, when situation happens, we immediately blame the person only. But eventually, after a few moments, this hits. Okay, we have studied so much. Now we know that I did it. So we become gradually, what happens? We become more and more patient, more and more tolerant, more and more forgiving. Forgiving. You must
But
be.
is there hope, Prabhuji? Because so our end goal is Krishna, right? And there is so much karma. And for a person like Dhritarashtra, for one event, right? Basically, the one suffering, it took him 50 lives of karma. So how can we quantify how much time it needs to get rid of all that karma? Even this life is actually enough.
So that's why it was 1866, right? He will do it immediately. In fact, Prabhupada says 1 minute is enough. If you can surrender 100% to Krishna, just 1 moment is enough.
1 moment is
But 100% is the question, right? No one,
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That's
So
what
the goal is actually to get to that 100% first,
Yeah.
and then the time doesn't matter.
Yes.
correct.
But to get to that,
Yeah. Plus, as you grow in spiritual life, our acharyas only teach us that stopping these things then is not our goal.
sorry,
Stopping our karma is not the goal.
stopping the karma is not.
Yeah. Nullifying the karma is not the goal.
It will come as a byproduct.
Yeah. Those are byproducts.
This will be a byproduct.
Pleasing Krishna is the goal. So when you please Krishna, automatically this thing will happen. The mukti, that's karma, everything.
Everything will.
The entanglement from the material world, all those things will come as byproduct.
I understand that we have to surrender, but let us suppose I generally do, I think I am surrendered, but what is the measure that I really surrender or I reach the status of full surrender? I understand that I should surrender 100%, but how I can know that I really surrender 100%?
Yeah. And there is no quantitative like that. It depends on you. That we have surrendered.
It is dependent on me.
Two parts. Right? One is your dependency. Second part is our acceptance. Krishna's acceptance. Since once he accepts,
There is no more.
there is no nothing more.
So how do you know that? Let us suppose I have surrendered myself, but how do I know that Krishna has accepted it or not?
Krishna reciprocates.
So how do I know?
Krishna will let you know. This is between you and Krishna. Krishna is a person, you are a person, and the medium is bhakti, or the way of surrender. And then Krishna will let you know. How will he let you know? He will let you know. So now we think, oh, I don't see Krishna is this, Krishna is not there. Right? He will let you know in one way that one through direct medium or through somebody. That is his Rama. So his devotees, mostly his devotees.
Would it also be kind of a realization? Because can it also be a realization, meaning, when we are, let's say, loving some person, we know how we can, maturely know how much we are loving them, based on our compassion.
And Krishna is not there, right? Yeah, right.
Sorry for the discussion.
Yeah. Discussion is always good.
So for personally, I do believe Krishna is actually
But you are giving your everything, that is itself is trying to, you are thinking of doing it itself is the first step. And eventually, as you start taking steps, you will be guided because you are going in a particular direction. And along, the most important thing is to be in association like what you are doing. This is a very, very critical. When you associate with devotees, like-minded people, they are doing the same thing. Like somebody, so to bring up that consistency, the easiest thing is to be in association. The more you are in association with the devotees, easier it is.
It makes us kind of remember. So I think we, like I was saying before, Prabhupada, I think how much we love a person is something we know. And to our capacity, I think if we really think we are going to be 100% believe Krishna, 100% believe love, or whatever this is, I think we can measure ourselves. And one more thing, what I think is, sorry,
That's okay. You can take your time. Other thing is the person is reciprocating or not. Generally, the devotees do their part and then wait for Krishna's mercy. Always in expectation. And there is a thrill in that. Always.
and I got my thought actually. So also, I mean, we may forget something, it's nature, but as long as we remember the things that Krishna is saying, if our ego is not dominating those, so we are kind of following them as long as we remember them, I think that itself is also transformation.
And how to surrender also. Okay, so you got it.
Which I was trying to look into the slides, but I just searched on the web. You know which folder you have, the Sarnagati presentation?
It should be there in the Sharanagati itself. First.
You know which folder, like 98, or I was looking for it. So,
I don't know.
so yeah, I mean,
You go to Bhagavad Gita 18 chapter 66. 1866. So how do we surrender? Again, it is going to show you that. Surrender to be means is also quantified. It is also defined. How do a person surrender? What is it do to surrender? Right? Because there is a way to surrender. That doesn't make sense to us. Surrender is that is given. Bring up that.
bro, somehow I didn't have your presentation of the 18 chapters.
Oh, okay, sorry. So it's there and you are
Why am I there? Okay, let me.
anyway, you can go from here. You can read from here.
So here, the process of surrender is given. Okay, there are first two steps which is mentioned. It is very important. Anukulnasya sankalpa, pratikulasya varjana. So means do something. First thing is to do that is favorable for you, for your devotion, and avoid doing the things that is not favorable for you. Like if you are in a devotional, the path to like surrendering through the devotion, then do something like what is favorable, like associating with the devotees, coming to the temple, eating prasadam. What you should avoid, not to associate. When I say not to associate means where you like if a drunkard, I will have more association with a drunkard. Similarly, a spiritually inclined person will have more inclination to associate with the more spiritually inclined. So similarly, so these are the first two steps for the surrender. So think about that. Whatever we do all through the day, are we following these two principles?
So there are six things in this. So the first is accepting everything that is favorable for devotional service. Second is rejecting everything that is not favorable for devotional service. Third is rakshishyati iti vishvaso, means have full faith that Krishna will protect always. Gopatritve varnam tata. This is Krishna is our only maintainer. And Atma Nikshepa is full surrender. Karpanya is feeling yourself very unqualified, or as you have nothing except for Krishna's mercy, you have nothing else. So the third through sixth will come when we do first and
First two.
So our only business should be to focus on the first two. All the rest four are the results that will come out of this. And that's how we can judge how we are doing.
Other things are like the state of mind.
Yes.
These are under our control.
Activities.
Activities.
Other four are in the state of mind. Mind of a person who is surrendered will be like completely dependent on Krishna. Krishna will take care of my things. Like as you say, in the job. So you can cultivate this state of mind. I am going to do first two things. Where I am going to do my job right.
Accepting what is favorable.
Right? I will produce more than what is expected from me. Then I will not participate. Second is, I will not participate in any gossip. If I hear something about my manager and I have concern about that, I will directly go and talk to my manager. But this is the thing what I have heard and what I see is kind of concern. I would like to help you. So these are things we can do and not participate in the politics. So those are things we don't want to do. Then the third thing will be in practical usage, you need a state of mind that Krishna is going to protect me, protect whatever me in my Krishna consciousness, as well as in my job, as well as my time. He's going to protect me. He is going to provide me with all the necessary things for doing my devotional service. So, gradually we understand this world in more and more depth. This is one very superficial example how we can take care of this.
Daily we are meeting so many people in our life.
Yes.
Just because they are not a devotee, we cannot totally reject them. Like they may be a good people, we may
Correct.
like their association, they may be very good to us.
Yeah.
If I go at this rate, I have to abandon my family itself in India because they are not devotee. Even my husband side.
No, you
No,
cannot
we
do
are not,
that.
we are not talking about breaking our ties. But do not take anything from them that will take you away from Krishna.
So
Right? Many people like to, party every day, right? But somebody, for example, if you want to progress in Krishna consciousness, better invest your time here than there, right? It's not that you should completely stop meeting them at all, but you can reduce gradually, right?
And we can also blissfully reject things, right? Like for
Yeah.
example, my parents, they feel like it's weird for us at this age to go to temple or read, a lot of things. Right?
Yeah.
And 6 years ago, 7 years ago, they used to say that all the time. They have been here in 6 months. We didn't take their suggestions, of course, right? Yeah, there is nothing much to do here anyway, so we're just going to.
Yeah.
That's what we used to say, and that's good, right? And 6, 7 years down the lane, my mom never used to fast, and in our family everyone eats eggs and meat. They never used to look at the calendar. Now on Ekadashi they don't eat eggs or meat. That's the progress.
Yeah.
So there is a family always does not support, and if there is, I think association here is in the positive direction of associating us
So you
with the
give
right people.
you give the good things to them,
Yeah.
but don't take the bad things from them.
Don't take the bad things at the same time. Don't make them feel rejected
Exactly.
because of what they are.
Yes.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I, for one, will lose my family.
Yeah.
Actually, my home side, mom's side, they make fun of me for not eating meat. And now I eat, but because everyone eats, right? So it's, and I laugh, right? And I laugh and I just say,
Yeah.
it's my choice,
Yes.
right? But we can't because they have a difference of opinion
Right.
and reject
Right.
in some ways, and in some ways, I think even at
So even we, right, in the past 6 or 7 years, our family doesn't know what we are doing. They will not welcome it. So we don't tell them what we are doing at the temple, how we are going, where we are going. They don't need to know. But at that same time, we still have that loving relationships of a parent and child, and we still associate with all our relatives. But again, only keep the relation in such a way that it doesn't affect your devotional service.
And that is very common in everybody's, like who is the first generation of devotees in their life. You will see that my parents still don't because they follow like Shivites and things like that. But once you have a clear understanding, it doesn't mean that I am stop calling my parents, I don't welcome them. But in fact, I call them, okay, come for various holy places which is related to either Jagannath or Vrindavan or Mayapur, they will take it, but slowly. There is also an aspect of when you associate with the people who are not devotee, it all depends whether you are giving your association to them or you are taking their association. Whether you are following them or they are. I'm not saying they have to follow you, but at least you don't go out of the way where you have to compromise on your principles. Or,
And then also at work, like we spend most of the time at
yeah,
work, so it's very difficult to not associate with.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We have to associate to belong,
Yes.
but what we take out of that is
Yes.
very critical.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
you also say in Chaitanya Charitamrita there have been many devotees who have been like the what is it, Prime Minister
Prime Minister.
of Chennai. You know, Swarup Damodar was
Governor. He was a governor.
governor of the Madras province, and there is Rupa Goswami. They have been like prime ministers, and but still they became a devotee. But doesn't mean that you have to let go everything. But only two things: accept what is favorable for the devotion and reject what is not favorable.
So, the best thing is when we meet our relative, when it be really nice.
Yeah.
It's not like artificial, but you have to be really nice from within, authentic, and do not show them that they are down.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a key. You want to show that they are not taken to Krishna consciousness, they are lower kind of, in India that's the thing, untouchable, right? That has spoiled the whole thing, right? India, the Brahmins class, they used to feel, oh, I'm Brahmin, this guy is Shudra, you can't touch. If somebody says something like this,
water.
water.
Muslims throw water on
Water and the person becomes
Muslims
Muslim, yeah?
or untouchable.
Right. So those kind of things, this is not like, this is on the platform of soul. This is a much higher philosophy. Now your parents, your mother, your husband's parents, your husband's mother, they are all soul. Currently they are, under certain circumstances of the Prakriti, they are under certain circumstances. They have not been exposed to what, they are not fortunate enough to get this soul. So our goal is to make them fortunate. How can we make them fortunate? By giving prasadam, being a very nice person with them, help them out wherever is necessary. So that is what. But as Mataji said, don't take the negative. They say, oh, why go to temple? Then yes, you can give reasons. Based on the family thing, you can give reasons. This is the reason I go to temple.
Okay. So we'll continue reading further here. Kama. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, Kala, eternal time, and Karma, activity, are all explained in Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. But according to the some philosophers say that manifestation of the material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false; it is accepted as real but temporary. So we saw five topics: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So what Prabhupada is mentioning here is that four of them are eternal, and one of them is not eternal, which is karma. So, and why Prabhupada is especially talking about that the Prakriti is temporary, but it is not false for two reasons. One is because of the Mayavadi philosophy thinks that this temporary world is false, not real. Okay. The other thing is that from the Vaishnava philosophy, it is that we saw this creation, right? Let me project this. So we saw that the universes comes out of the Mahavishnu, they come, they exist, and they again go back, right? So it's manifest and it unmanifest, but it doesn't. It is not a temporary. It is temporary, but it is not false. It is real. It is real, but it is a. So one analogy that is given in Shastras is, or in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is mentioned, the potter, the pot, and the potter's wheel. So if you look from one aspect, the potter's wheel is producing the pot, right? So the pot is coming from mud. So the pot will manifest, and after some time, it will surely break. It's a mud pot, and after that, what it will become? Mud. So the analogy here is like a mud. The material nature, it will manifest, it will, or sometime it will destroy, and then it will again manifest again. We don't know, right? We cannot say the soil is just 10 years old or this. It has been existing. It has what it has gone through the cycle. We don't know that. There is one other analogy. This I should have told you as part of the Prakriti, where when Prabhupada is bringing the concept of Ishvara, because science says that the Big Bang happened and after that there is no control of the whole nature, right? The material nature. The same analogy is used where we see that the potter's wheel, you need a potter's wheel to manifest the pot, make the pot, right? But is these two sufficient? When you see that he has potter from potter's wheel, the pot is coming out.
No, you need the actual
You need an actual potter to create the to control it, right? Similarly, Lord is also playing that role. Actually, this same analogy will be is given in the Shastras on how this the Prakriti and the controls Ishvara is been analyzed.
So it looks like all living entities, everything is, we are coming from material nature. It looks like that. Or whatever is working in material nature, it looks like it is happening on its own. But yeah, there's a person behind it.
So universe is the truth, but it is temporary. Whatever is the manifestation. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season which nourishes the grains. As soon as the rainy season is over and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappear. Such are the working of Prakriti, but this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal, it is not false. Again, Prabhupada giving another analogy of the rain and how it nourishes the grains, and after the rains goes away, it goes through the cyclic, right? So that's what it's saying. So similarly, the so even our universe also manifests in cyclic form. It's manifest and unmanifest. We saw the other day, right? Prabhupada explaining how the manifestation happened during the breathing of Mahavishnu. Each universe comes and they stay, and as soon as Mahavishnu inhales, everything goes back. Actually, so
this aspect can be treated like jiva. It changes forms, but it always exists.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
it be treated?
Yeah, we'll see in the very first instruction of Bhagavad Gita, or the knowledge which Krishna gives to Arjuna, is that you are not the body, you are the soul, and you will be existing forever. Actually, so we always exist. Anything, Prabhu?
No, I think the jiva, as it changes form, how does it change form?
From childhood to
Correct, that is true. But how does it not from one form like human beings to let's say
It's impact of karma.
correct,
Yeah.
exactly. So because of the karma, it gets different forms,
Bodies.
different bodies. Why? Why different bodies? Because with the karma, in the process of karma, it desires something. Like for example, it desires to eat meat. Okay? So when it desires to eat meat, is the appropriate body? Body of a lion, and a tiger.
We have some nice pictures actually. Every Bhagavad Gita will have towards the middle. So here, all the whatever Prabhu is talking, it's in pictures.
So whatever is based on the desire, the appropriate body became. Somebody would like to nicely swim in the water eternally, long for long.
Guess what the form? Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Somebody wants to sleep lazy all the time. Polar bear. You can hibernate.
Somebody wants to fly all the time.
Or somebody wants to eat meat.
Yeah, that Prabhu just covered. From people like to eat stale, rotten food, they'll be given the body of a pig.
Pig. So pig can eat that food and become healthy. If you see how we think person becomes happy, then what is the symptom? Person is fat.
Yeah.
Healthy. That means one person is very happy. So if you see the pigs, they are eating all the foods from all the junk and the gutters and all. They are like that. No, they are happy actually. They want to eat that food.
But we people say they get a lot of protein, charges.
It all has been created in modern
Artificially
created.
demand. They artificially say that you need so much of protein and things like that. But that is true if you are very hardworking. You do a lot of labor work actually.
There is a lot of protein. There is a lot of protein in dal,
Yeah.
Broccoli,
right? There is protein in
Green leafy
milk,
vegetables, yeah. Milk, dairy products.
green leafy vegetables.
Dals have
dal.
yeah.
Compared to animal protein, these proteins are better.
And this will be easily digested actually.
Yeah, that big difference is how much
Intake doesn't matter. How much you can retain is what matters, right?
See, now you go to all these bodybuilders, they have big muscles. What protein they eat? What is whey protein? Milk. Whey protein is milk. It's actually they are getting protein from milk. All the muscles are coming from milk, not from the animals.
He's asking me how is he turning into that? If you ask for anything, he'll become you.
7:25. So we'll finish this paragraph and we'll end the day today in the class. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord, and similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, although they are not separated but eternally related. Eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, the material nature, and time all are interrelated and all are eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity. And this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt or to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. So here we see here that the Lord is calling us my Prakriti, means again saying, emphasizing on that is coming from Lord, but that is not the superior, because superior natures are Jiva, this is the inferior. And again Prabhupada is saying that karma is not eternal. Of all the five, karma is not eternal except karma. All other fours, Ishvara, Jiva, Kala and Prakriti are eternal. And the nature, and what is the nature of a karmic thing is that either you suffer or you enjoy. Those are the two things, the characteristics that we have to. Uh-huh.
We talk about Prakriti, one of the five elements covered within the Bhagavad Gita. We are talking about just the material nature or the Jiva's nature. So are we talking about both? Prakriti, Kala and Karma.
Mhm.
So we talk about Jiva as a soul, but we talk about Prakriti, which is a nature.
Material nature.
So that's
Yeah,
material
here it is
So
material.
material
We're
nature.
not talking about the Jiva's nature.
That is all.
I mean, that is, again, the material nature has three modes, right? So Jiva's nature is completely subject to that.
In Jiva.
Yes.
Jiva's nature is sattva, made up of sattva, which is a part of Prakriti.
Yeah. The element is the same. The elements are the same.
So I think we are continue, but I will understand more.
Okay, okay. So there is a soul. Soul has its karma.
Its own nature and its own karma.
But nature is what?
Nature,
Soul's
yeah.
is what? Soul Prakriti.
It's to be controlled.
That is true, but what is the composition of the soul's external thing?
Oh, material.
So the external part of the soul, which is based on the soul, how it, what I understood from you regarding soul's Prakriti is the nature.
The nature.
Nature.
Sattva, Rajos,
Correct. And that is
the composition of those three.
correct. So basically that is manifestation of his nature. Means basically those are the person is showing those qualities based on what? Based on his samskara. Karma or samskara. So that karma and samskara, which is part of the soul, is the nature that person is manifesting. Right now somebody is
So
angry.
that's the person.
That's the person. Now somebody is angry.
This is again.
This is he is expressing Rajogun, angry means. Right? Now that is controlled by the Rajogun, which is the controller of the Rajogun in the material nature. So these are all connected. So one is the you see that?
Okay.
So it's the physical thing, world, which is around which you see, that is also Prakriti. But everything that is made up of, you will see around here, is made up of Prakriti. As well as our nature is also made up of Prakriti.
The underlying elements are the same
It's
for
the
both.
same.
Yeah. They're very, very closely interconnected. And even like the soul has, if we see, soul is spiritual, right? It's a part and parcel of Krishna. And if we see our composition, we have several layers over the soul. We have mind, intelligence, ego, and on top of that, we have this material body, physical body. So these three modes will act on the mind. That's the way they control the living entity. So that's also a part of how you are manifesting your nature, right? Like how these sometimes you may be even sometimes in some situations you may exhibit anger. Same situation at some other point you may not. It also depends on how you're being influenced by the modes.
Like your child's, he takes a water or a cup of something, milk, and throws out his entire. So sometimes it may not produce anger. When you know that the child is sick, you will not be angry. Is it not? But if the child is healthy and playing around and he does it, again, what is your reaction? Different situation, right? That's what she's saying. Same person is there, same act. Your reaction to that will be either anger or sometimes it will be love. The child is sick, you will be more affectionate. So that's how the modes of there are multiple things happening actually.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to analyze.
So the soul will be influenced by the old karma, which might be good or anger or anything, that in turn we exhibit by action. Is that
We show it by action, yes. We manifest by action. Or see nowadays things are happening so fast. Earlier people were more patient, and now things are all this gadgets and all these things are there. The reaction time of person thinking and acting is becoming lesser and lesser and lesser. It is more like animals, instinct. Right? Same situation, and then you little bit analyze and act, then it will be different than action and reaction. So modern technology is kind of helping us at the same time. often it doesn't help us because our expectations of things happening is very fast. Like you send an email and you're expecting answer immediately. Is it not? Or you send a text to somebody and immediately you get the answer. Keep watching. Refresh. Again refresh. Again refresh. So we are becoming impatient in that. Earlier, you used to write, I remember in my life,
Yeah,
it was
we used to
like
write
writing
letters.
postcard.
We used to write letters and post.
Inland letters.
Yeah, inland letters. Yeah.
Postcard and inland letter will cover that blue color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a mode of communication. Or the fastest way of communication at that time was telegram. If there's a telegram, everybody will be afraid.
Yes.
Because there's
Some bad
Bad
news.
news is
some
coming.
bad news. But we need to be thinking on this, the things that are happening around us. We need to start thinking in terms of this. The more you think in terms of reference of all these things happening around you, the picture will get more clear. Now I have got some understanding. So try to see things even happening in your life based on what we are studying. That is living the life of our gift. Events happening in your work, events happening while you are driving, even happening when you are cooking. Everyone of us has to eat. Is it not?
Yeah.
So the best way is before eating, one of the things which we do as a devotees is we actually offer the food to Krishna. Then it becomes what? Yeah. And we are actually Shakespeare says this. We are what we eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You can go on the internet and research. You'll see. Shakespeare is saying this. Means we are composed of what we are eating.
No, I think there is a TED talk also on that actually.
Correct. So now we are eating prasadam. So now our thoughts will become pure and pure. We see the same event in a different way. We become, and actually what is happening is we have to reflect this teaching in our workplace when we go. We must reflect this, what we are learning, in our behavior. So we take this, we accept it, we live like this, then our behavior, we don't have to artificially show that we are calmer in a certain situation. Then, like, let's say, one meeting recently happened in our company. That our manager called and said, oh, we made a big loss. Everybody was shocked. Immediately things start happening. If there's a loss, means people are going to take out jobs. Means what is happening to me? They go into multiple directions. In seconds, the whole thing. Then he said, no. We made a loss, but loss in profit. We were expecting 10 million. We made 6 million.
This is a different perspective.
Yeah. So, in seconds and
Now, sometimes we may have to eat outside and all that.
Yeah.
Offer, all the time we cannot get it.
correct. But nobody stops us from offering it internally. Because that situation has happened to us because we work. Most of the time, people who are working in companies, even it happens with me actually. Once or twice in a year, I avoid going to eat out, but then some of the time you cannot avoid. They make all that and they know that I don't eat onion, I don't drink garlic, I don't drink vegetable, eggs, or meat or something like that. So they make sure that they will go to such a restaurant where they get all these things fulfilled.
When I travel, Mataji, almost every week. So my office, sometimes there is a new team on every new project I do. So you just be firm that okay, and US is the best place where people respect their privacy. It's not like India actually. Oh, you're not eating and things like that, right? Here, if you say that you don't want to eat, they will give you highest priority actually to what you have said actually. So even my colleagues when they come, I have my own prasadam box, so they bring whatever they get in the canteen, and they are more conscious. I say, no, I'm eating meat. Is it okay? I didn't say anything, but they know how to adjust with you actually. So situations will not be. I think now recently in Gauranga Prabhu's lecture, he said, you cannot always control the circumstances, but you can control your consciousness. You can mentally offer it. What else you can do? Krishna will reciprocate to it actually.
I have a question on the same thing actually. So is it about the type of food that we have to offer? Is it about the mind that is trying to offer what we're trying to eat?
This is both. Like what you eat, what you can offer, you also give. Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita.
So there are instructions of
Yeah.
what to be offered.
Yeah, we say the Patram Pushpam Param. These are things you can offer with love. Ingredient is
Love.
love. Love and devotion. So it's not okay, made nice pizza and 5 items in it and you give to Krishna. Krishna eat. That's not love.
So let's say I bring my lunch from, I don't know, lunch from home. I go buy something that of course not made, but I don't know what they put in it. I have not. But it's out of my habit that every time I eat, I do say it's to you. I haven't been saying it's to you, Krishna. But these days it's easy to Krishna, of course. So I inside in my mind, I do offer that. And is that mistake to do that?
No, it's not. It's basically, you are trying to say this. There is a text 100 over there. That's
Right.
really
Probably, so
so
that's
we
what I
yes, we are starting. So you start with that. Eventually, you take the prasadam from itself.
next year.
That's the best thing to do. But if you cannot do, eventually you offer with love, saying that this. The thing is, you are trying to develop cultivate relationship with Krishna. He is a person. You are a person. He knows ins and outs about you. He knows better than you about yourself. So then, whenever we are in doubt, we always tell Krishna, sometimes with a lot of habit, because this is the beginning, he understands. He's not like a jailer. He
I know that's
he's a merciful father.
so that's why I was asking, is it a matter that's important? I mean, the mind is of course important, but is it a matter that's also important? Because if I'm doing that and it is actually a random offer food that's not prasad, then am I in a bad situation?
So we need to understand why we do not eat the outside food. Because the person who is cooking, his
Consciousness.
not
So I also heard that, right? Like whoever is making food for you, once it's from their consciousness is imparted in that food that it's,
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, but it's highly, even knowing that it's highly impossible for us to actually make all of it.
right. And in fact, the Kshatriyas are allowed to kill an animal and eat. Because there are certain times in jungles they are fighting
They
for
don't have
dharma.
food.
They don't have food. So is it important to eat or just fast? Or important to fight for dharma? So those kind of there are some certain questions that the best person to answer would be the who is basically the whom you take a shelter. But at the same time, there's a general answer that whatever we internally pray.
Yeah.
This is sometimes you cannot offer food.
Mm-hmm.
You bring milk or cheese or this is made by other people, right?
Right.
How will you offer? But if you offer, all the karma related to that is taken care of. So the best is to offer. Best is to offer. That's the best to start with offering. And then eventually what will happen is first you cook, entirely offer, and then you take, and then you don't have other things. That is the best. But if you can't do whatever you have, you offer internally, and then so at least you're practicing.
I'm just saying what Krishna says, that what kind of food you need to eat. Actually, he also mentions that actually. There are also, when we talked about the modes of the material nature, it's not only our nature. It also reflects what kind of food, clothing, worship, faith. They all come under these three modes actually. So when Krishna explains all these things in details in 17th chapter, how the mode of goodness should look like. You can read the description. Food dear to those in the mode of goodness, increase the duration of the life, purify one existence, and give strength, health, happiness, satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart.
Now, under that, the grains fall.
Yeah.
Then vegetables, they all
Juices, fruits,
juices, fruits, milk.
vegetables, fatties, the vitamins, and the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And wholesome is the great.
Grains.
And
Pleasing to the heart is not too much masala. Like.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
You
then,
know, experience that happened to me last week. We need to have
uh-huh.
we came to our home. We came last week. We invited him for dinner to our home. So normally when we invite, we get a list of what he can eat, what we should avoid. So we had that list, and in that list it was written that the masala that can be used, because these two mataji are there, they can relate. So the masala you can use is jeera, no ginger, jeera, haldi, hing, salt. These are the four things you can put in anything. Not tomatoes, no ginger, nothing like that. And we made dal with that, and we made like 2-3 subjis with that. I thought, there is only this much masala. How the taste will be. But it was so nice actually. And after that, after he ate, then we ate masala. It was so nice. We could taste every vegetable. Earlier, we only taste the masala.
Yeah.
Now we can taste the vegetable. Vegetable has so much nice taste. So it's not that the masala, I thought masala gives the taste. Actually, the vegetable itself has a taste, which we were missing. We are putting so much masala, so much spice that the taste was subdued. Vegetable taste was subdued.
Like we used to have the experience, right? Onion garlic. We think that without that we cannot even make any vegetable.
Yeah,
Now, I don't even feel a difference that there is no onion and there is no garlic actually, because you see the true flavor of that what has been cooked actually.
Similarly, you reduce the masala, it is more tasty.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
But if the food contains onion garlic, it cannot be offered.
Exactly.
Suppose if you are forced to eat outside, then you cannot offer.
No, you cannot. But let's say suppose there are a lot of times when I go out, I get salad. So then I think salad can be offered. So internally I just pray salad with olive oil and some cheese. So, but you cannot do a complete prayer. I internally pray.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.